كتب عليكم القتال وهو كره لكم وعسى أن تكرهوا شيئا وهو خير لكم وعسى أن تحبوا شيئا وهو شر لكم والله يعلم وأنتم لا تعلمون. Fighting has been made obligatory upon you believers, though you dislike it. Perhaps you dislike something which is good for you and like something which is bad for you. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala knows and you do not know. By nature, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given human beings a certain level of intellect, understanding, wisdom, and foresight. However, every person's wisdom, intellect, intelligence, foresight differs from the other. In this verse of the Qur'Ānic Kareem, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the injunction of jihad. Though the apparent verse means or would mean that jihad is obligatory and compulsory upon every Muslim in every condition. However, some other verses of the Quran and the sayings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam have clarified that this obligation is not absolute. That is, every Muslim is not charged to perform it as fard ain, meaning it is not absolute and mandatory and a mandatory obligation on every Muslim. Instead, it is fardul kifaya, whereby one group of the Muslims should come forward to discharge these obligations, whilst other Muslims would be considered absolved from it. Similar to Salatul Janaza, where one group of Muslims should perform and must perform the Salatul Janaza, while the others would be considered absolved from Salatul Janaza when one group performs the Salatul Janaza. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Al-jihadu madin ila yawm al-qiyamah." That jihad will continue, fighting will continue until the day of Qiyamah. However, should they remain just no group of people at all ready to discharge the obligation of jihad at any time or in any country, the result will be that all Muslims will fall into the sin of abandoning an obligation, as mentioned by Mufti Shafi rahimahullah in Ma'arif al-Quran. The lesson from this verse comes thereafter, wherein Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that sometimes certain things will come into your life, sometimes some injunctions are upon you as a Muslim and as a believer, and you will feel that this is not good for me. And sometimes there are certain things that you will feel that this is bad for me. However, you feel that it is good for you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala writes down and gives us a principle for life to follow. عسى أن تكرهوا شيئا وهو خير لكم عسى أن تحبوا شيئا وهو شر لكم. Sometimes we are in love with a certain thing. We want a certain thing to come our way. We want a certain thing to go our way. We want something to happen and to be like the way it would please us. However, that may be bad for us. On the contrary, we may dislike a certain thing. We may hate a certain thing. We may not want something to be in a certain way. However, Allah Ta'ala makes it that way, but there is goodness for us in that. So in our lives, we will face various sorts of challenges. We will face various sorts of tests and tribulations from the side of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Sometimes to do with our family, sometimes to do with our children, sometimes to do with our relatives, our neighbors, our properties, our wealth, our health, etc. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the most knowledge and the most wisdom over and above whatever is happening in this world, whether it is to an individual, to a country, to a group of people, or in the world at large. So whatever happens, we must understand and we must bring into our lives this belief with conviction that no matter what, Allah Ta'ala knows what is best for us. Wallahu ya'lamu wa antum la ta'lamun. Simply because Allah Ta'ala has more foresight and wisdom in what He has chosen for us, what He has done for us, over what we would like on our way and what we would like for us to be as is. Some ulama have mentioned that on the day of Qiyamah, and when we all enter Jannah inshallah, and our books of deeds are presented to us, and we will see that this is how our life went, this is why we took this decision, this is why Allah Ta'ala had chosen this for us. The ulama say that when we will read this and we will witness it with our own eyes, we ourselves as human beings will say that this is exactly what I would have chosen had they not been something as taqdeer and predestination. So on the day of Qiyamah, when these things will unfold for us, we will definitely understand and we will definitely say that this is exactly how I would like my life to be. Therefore, no matter what we go through, no matter what happens to us, no matter what our situation and condition is, no matter what comes our way, what doesn't come our way, we should ensure and we should be happy with the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for He is all knowing. There is a great saying in the Arabic language, al-khayru fima waqa'a. There is goodness in whatever has happened. This statement brings solace to our hearts, because no matter what our condition is, whether we are in a state of happiness or in a state of sadness, whether we are enjoying the bounties of Allah Ta'ala or whether we are being tested, al-khayru fima waqa'a. There is goodness in whatever has happened or will happen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the true understanding and bring in our lives this simple, straightforward principle of Islam and teaching of the Quran.